I actually started dancing very early, if I could say, because my sister used to be a dancer and she's almost 10 years older. And she basically started stretching me while changing my diapers. And yeah, she always said like, I want him to become my pas de deux partner one day. And so also when she started dancing, I followed her into the ballet school. And with 1 and 2 years old, I started all of a sudden like wiggling around in the back and just moving around. And yeah, so my mom basically said that there's no way around. I just have to let him dance because that's what I was presenting while I couldn't speak yet. And then with 5 years old, my mom asked me if I really would like to dance or would like to try. And I said, yeah, why not? Like, I like to move, I like to dance. So I went to a very, very small private school in the outskirts of Vienna. And I started there, you know, it's like just a bit of jumping around, fooling around, just to move a bit as a little child. And then a year later, my mom was like, are you serious about dancing? Or are you liking it? I can see you're really like full of joy and you really enjoy being there. And I said, yes, why not? And my sister by the time was still at the conservatory in Vienna. And I said, yeah, I would like to try it. So then I went into the beginner's course of the conservatory there and I started dancing. I think I was one of the only boys in the class, which I think is quite common in ballet. But I really liked it and I started going on and I saw my sister becoming a professional dancer, and the more and more I watched the shows and also got more involved with ballet, I really said to my parents, I want to do this. So when I started basically high school in Vienna, I said, okay, I want to try that, and I changed to the Vienna State Opera Ballet Academy, where I also graduated after a couple of years. And I remember it so clearly the day when my former director from Vienna, Manuel Legris, he offered me a contract for the Corps de Ballet. I thought my dream just happened. And I was so excited to be finally part of what I always dreamt of and what I always wanted. Yeah, and then I basically started my journey there. You know, I also started in the Corps de Ballet, which I think is very important because you need to gain the experience on stage, you need to develop as a dancer, and I think you can only do that by performing. And after, I think it was two to 3 years in the company, which is quite soon already, Manuel Legris, he started giving me small opportunities, little option, like roles to perform. And yeah, after 3 years, I remember it also very clearly, he immediately promoted me to soloist after the Nureyev Gala at the end of the season. So I basically skipped the rank of demi-soloist because I think there was also a need of male dancers, and I guess he saw the opportunity in me. And I learned so much in that time because also I started dancing with my dear partner Olga Jesina, who is still a principal at the Vienna State Ballet. And yeah, that's just where we started building our connection, and we had a great adventure and journey together. And then I performed with her in a season revival of Swan Lake, but he actually created the first Swan Lake in Vienna when he was there at the time. I think it was in '64. And it's slightly different from the Paris Opera version because we also have in the first act the pas de cinq. So the prince has 2 friends couples, and he also has a solo to the Tchaikovsky pas de deux variation. And then of course there is the famous slow adagio variation from Nureyev, which is quite hard. And he also changed the Black Swan pas de deux, which is also the music from Tchaikovsky pas de deux. But this is very unique and only in Vienna. In Paris they are doing the original black pas de deux. So that is, it was very special, very hard, and I could already feel like there's so much responsibility behind it and so much trust. So, but I always have to say, dancing in Nureyev Ballet, I absolutely knew I was in the best shape I could be at that time. Of course, I was very young, and I always want to improve, but that was definitely challenging, but a great experience, and I was coached by Nureyev's students, basically. And after that night, I saw Manuel Legris and Dominique Maillet, who was the opera director at that time in Vienna. They came on stage with a microphone, and they just announced me in front of the audience to principal dancer that night, and this was something I could have never imagined, because, you know, for me it was always the goal to be a dancer, to do it professionally, but yeah, then of course after achieving that, you're trying to find a new goal, and then my goal was like, maybe I can manage to be a soloist one day, but I never would have imagined that I would have become a principal. So I felt very honored, and it was such a nice atmosphere that day because the whole company was behind me, they were rooting for me. My family was in the audience, which was really nice to see that. And yeah, that was the beginning of something. And then, as always in the ballet world, there is always an end of an era. And in 2020, Manuel Legris left Vienna, the company, as a ballet director and moved to La Scala. And so for me, because growing up in Vienna my entire life, I kind of thought it has been 22 years by that time, 23, that I should maybe try and explore something else, something what is out in the world, like try and see what's going to happen if I move out of my hometown. And that's what I always wanted to do. I always said this as a student when I was young, that I would like to explore these things. So already a few years before Manuel even left, I started looking around, and I came across the Dutch National Ballet in Amsterdam. And I was like, this is a very nice company, like with a lot of variety, different repertoire obviously than in Vienna. But I would maybe like to try that. So that's what I did. I got in touch with director Ted Branson, and I decided to join the company in 2020, which was not the easiest year because it was right after the first wave of COVID. So I basically joined but didn't really perform. So it was really hard for me also coming to a new city because I was constantly living in Vienna my entire life, as I said before, and Amsterdam is a beautiful city itself, but you know, it's also a city where you can connect with a lot of people because it's so international, people are so friendly, so openly. So it was kind of hard to do this because we had a lot of restrictions. Plus, on top of that, I went to Amsterdam to explore my artistry, you know, my whole career to continue. So it was a bit difficult in the beginning, but in the end, I think I enjoyed it a lot. It was definitely the right choice for me to get out of my hometown and see what Amsterdam had to give. And so I stayed there for 3 years, and I really danced a lot. I created new partnerships. I think Sleeping Beauty was probably the most exciting for me, I would say. When I danced in Amsterdam, it was really a great experience because I got the honor to open the performance, basically the performance series. And I remember I was dancing with my partner Maya Macatelli, and it was really great and a lovely experience because we had such a great time together. And it was also my first Sleeping Beauty, because I've never performed it before, even though I danced actually the Corps de Ballet in Vienna because we had the same version from Sir Peter Wright. But it was the first time I was dancing the Prince. And I just love the second act in Sleeping Beauty. The male variation is so precise, so unique, and so, maybe I could say English a little bit. I also got the opportunity, together with Maya Macatelli also to jump in basically for Le Corsair from Jose Martinez. They had the premiere in Ljubljana in Slovenia, and they asked me within 2 days basically if I could jump in and dance with Maya. And I said, yes, why not? I would like to try. It's an opportunity and experience I don't want to miss. Especially also little side story of Ljubljana, my sister used to be a dancer there. So I felt like the need to maybe perform in the theater where my sister started her career. So that was very nice to come back, because also a few familiar faces, and also I remember the theater still when I was watching her dance there. And it was a great time. Not enough time, but great. One day, I think it was in April 2023, I got a phone call from Laurent Hilaire, and he asked me if I would like to join the Bavarian State Ballet in Munich, because he heard a lot of good things from me, he saw a lot of good things from me, so he would like to invite me. And I was really thinking about it a lot, because I have been in Amsterdam only for 3 years. And I don't want to change too often, because I want to keep building up my career and not start from the beginning again. But sometimes you have to just take the opportunities, and you might regret it or you might be super happy, and you just have to try. So in Munich I have danced quite a lot since the last 2 years I've been here. This is now my 3rd season, but we're just in the beginning. So I think my absolute favorite role in Munich so far, there has been many, but if I have to name one, it would definitely be Onegin from Krenko. Because I kind of grew up with the story. I've seen it many times in Vienna. I've also danced Lenski in Vienna. And finally to dance Onegin was such a dream come true. I could have also never imagined that this happened, and I also would have never imagined to fall in love that much with that role and with that ballet, because every time I started performing it, or I perform it, there is something new I experience, and there is something new I get to know, not only about my character, but also about the other characters around, even if it's the nurse or if it's the mother, like there is so many different aspects of this story, and it's actually really well told, I have to say, and that's why it's also a masterpiece I have from Krenko. And it was definitely special, and also it was very nice to have danced it with Madison Young here in Munich, my premiere, who was also my Olga in Vienna, so there is also a connection. My chill out kind of zone, I would say, is probably spend as much time as I can at home, because I really love being at home, like in my own space, have my own things to do, and I also like to cook a little bit. I actually quite like it. I like to try out some things. I like to try my favorite meals from my grandma or my mother. And yeah, it's just very important to have this work-life balance for me, because I want to be fully committed for my job, and I want to be fully there, and it's kind of the way I recharge. But I also I love spending time with my friends, and I also love going out, and especially in Bavaria, we have so many beautiful things around here. Like we have the mountains 50 minutes away, we have beautiful lakes, and also I have to say I'm very close to Vienna. It's only a 4-hour train ride, so I can go home quite often and visit my family.